God chose Moses from his birth to demand Pharaoh for his people's freedom and to lead them out of Egypt. God knew Pharaoh would resist, so he took the opportunity to show his power by sending many miraculous plagues on the Egyptians. With each plague came extreme chaos and suffering. These would show who's really God and how far he will go to deliver his people whom he loves. God sent deliverance through Moses.
Let my people go, God has said. Now,
Then the Lord said to Moses, "Tell Aaron, take your staff and raise your hand over the waters of Egypt, all its rivers, canals, ponds, and all the reservoirs. Turn all the water to blood. Everywhere in Egypt the water will turn to blood, even the water stored in wooden bowls and stone pots." So Moses and Aaron did, just as the Lord commanded them. As Pharaoh and all of his officials watched, Aaron raised his staff and struck the water of the Nile. Suddenly the whole river turned to blood. The fish in the river died, and the water became so foul that the Egyptians couldn't drink it. There was blood everywhere throughout the land of Egypt.
let my people go, God has said. Now,
And the Lord said to Moses, "Tell Aaron, raise the staff in your hand over all the rivers, canals, and ponds of Egypt, and bring up frogs over all the land." So Aaron raised his hand over the waters of Egypt, and frogs came up and covered the whole land.
let my people go, God has said. Now,
So the Lord said to Moses, "Tell Aaron, raise your staff and strike the ground. The dust will turn into swarms of gnats throughout the land of Egypt." So Moses and Aaron did just as the Lord had commanded them. When Aaron raised his hand and struck the ground with his staff, gnats infested the entire land, covering the Egyptians and their animals. All the dust in the land of Egypt turned into gnats.
let my people go, God has said. Now,
The Lord said, "I will send swarms of flies onto you, your officials, your people, and all the houses. The Egyptian homes will be filled with flies, and the ground will be covered with them." And the Lord did just as he had said. A thick swarm of flies filled Pharaoh's palace and the houses of his officials. This whole land of Egypt was thrown into chaos by the flies.
let my people go, God has said. Now,
If you continue to hold them and refuse to let them go, the hand of the Lord will strike all your livestock, your horses, donkeys, camels, cattle, sheep, and goats with a deadly plague. And the Lord did just as he had said. The next morning, all the livestock of the Egyptians died, but the Israelites didn't lose a single animal. Pharaoh sent his officials to investigate, and they discovered that the Israelites had not lost a single animal. But even so, Pharaoh's heart remained stubborn, and he still refused to let the people go.
let my people go, God has said. Now,
The Lord told Moses and Aaron to take handfuls of soot and throw it in the air. And all the Egyptians got festering boils broken out on all of their skin.
let my people go, God has said. Now,
Pharaoh was still resistant to let the Israelites go, so he sent a very severe hailstorm on the land of Egypt. Never before had there been a hailstorm this terrible.
let my people go, God has said. Now,
So God brought a swarm of locusts on the country Egypt. They covered the land so that you couldn't see the ground. They devoured what little is left of the crops after the hailstorm, including all the trees growing in the fields.
Let my people go, God has said. Now,
Then the Lord said to Moses, "Lift your hand toward heaven, and the land of Egypt will be covered with a darkness so thick you can feel it." So he lifted his hand to the sky, and a deep darkness covered the entire land of Egypt for 3 days. During that time, the people could not see each other, and no one moved. But there was light as usual where the people of Israel were.
let my people go, God has said. Now,
Finally, the Lord said, at midnight one night, he would pass through the heart of Egypt, and all the firstborn sons, including the firstborn son of Pharaoh, would die. Even the firstborns of all the animals would die. And then a loud wail will rise through the whole land of Egypt, a wail like no one had ever heard before or would ever hear again. But among the Israelites, it would be peaceful, and they all lived.